Well, we're here in the British Design exhibition, 1948 to 2012, at the V&A. This is a big show that celebrates post-war British design. When London won the London Olympics, the museum began to consider what kind of a programme we should have in 2012 when the eyes of the world will be on London. And we decided to do a big celebration of post-war British design. And the show's about 350 works in all media, so fashion, furniture, textiles, the whole range of material that the V&A collects, plus painting and sculpture, and indeed we've got a section on video game. The exhibition takes a thematic structure, and in the first gallery we look at kind of the big ideas of reconstruction in the post-war period, the first couple of decades after the war, and we look at a sort of state-supported vision of modern design. In the second gallery we take up the theme of subversion, and that really explores the creativity of the British art school system and how influential that's been. And in the third gallery we explore the theme of innovation and creativity, and there we look at how Britain has moved from a manufacturing nation through to a service economy. And we particularly look at the way that Britain has developed an expertise in areas like new technologies. And of course, video game is the best way of illustrating that. It's one of the most successful and biggest industries where Britain still plays a leading role.
The challenge with showing video games in an exhibition like this is that games are obviously meant to be played and interacted with in a very deep and quite personal level, which you can't do in a museum context. Also, the British Design exhibition is about design, about how things look, rather than about the gameplay. So what we chose to do was to try and represent the games in ways which best illustrate the visual design of the game and the evolution of that visual design in the case of titles which have run for some time.
Well, video games is, I think, a very interesting story in the post-war, British design kind of landscape. Of course, we were leading producers of hardware in the 1980s. Companies such as Acorn and Amstrad and indeed Sinclair kind of produced computers, and indeed British consumers had computers at a higher proportion than other countries. However, we kind of slightly lost the lead there, and America and Japan came into the kind of fray late in the 1980s and really took over the hardware kind of market. And what sort of that led to was a movement in Britain towards the development of software. And of course, it was a nation of bedroom programmers. There was a whole sort of generation of young designers who had learnt on these early computers by companies like Sinclair, and began to develop the video games, a sort of nascent video games industry. So in this display in the V&A we have a number of games. We have about 6 games that represent really the movement from those early games like Elite and Lemmings right through to sort of global games, globally successful games like Tomb Raider and Grand Theft Auto.
We knew we wanted Tomb Raider in the show. So we contacted Ian Livingstone, who is of course very passionate about Lara. He then got in touch with Crystal Dynamics, and they were wonderfully helpful, supplying us with footage and helping make the exhibit possible.
Really, it's like going up a set of stairs.
The reason that we chose Tomb Raider, I think is quite crucial. I mean, Tomb Raider was one of the first games to really reach beyond the kind of video game market and sort of be merchandised to a much wider audience through the films. So, of course, the heroine of Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, has become this great cultural kind of phenomena, moving well beyond, the games market. So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to include Tomb Raider. There's also, I think, a very interesting story there. Many of the video games companies were located in these cities that had been centres of manufacturing but had gone into decline: Dundee, Sheffield, Liverpool.
We really wanted to best illustrate the evolution of Lara from the original PlayStation game through to the next iteration to be launched in 6 or 9 months. So the 3 versions we show here go from a very pixelated, fairly low resolution Lara through to the almost filmic quality of the next iteration.
I think the success of a lot of the games is that they were the first. So Lara Croft was the first sort of female heroine, very sort of action-driven game that focused on this character that you connected with. I mean, in Grand Theft Auto, it was the fact that it was the first open world game where you could explore this world. So it was very, very creative in terms of its approaches to creating these alternative realities.
The Tomb Raider exhibit focuses on Lara Croft and the evolution of the design of Lara Croft. So we represent in 3 columns the three different key ages of Lara Croft. When you walk up to the exhibit, that image expands across the 3 screens, so it's interactive in the way that you see the evolution of Lara and the kind of environments that she's travelling through. The show's had a very good response overall, with a great, a lot of visitors, and the feedback we've had is that people really enjoy the games exhibit and interacting with Tomb Raider.
The exhibition runs until the 12th of August in London. There's a website and there are a number of publications produced to accompany the exhibition. So there's more information about the video games content in the book and indeed on the website.
These games were chosen for the exhibition because of their iconic status, really. I mean, Lemmings, Tomb Raider, Grand Theft Auto, they're embedded in games history. They're really important games.